It's Talk Erie of the Joel Natale Show. We're live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here. And we have another great conversation celebrating what's different, conversations with the Barber National Institute. And this is our special December holiday episode. And we're going to learn about how an Erie educator who brought hope to persons with intellectual disabilities may become the first laywoman from the United States to become a saint. And of course, we're talking about the founder of the Barber National Institute, Dr. Gertrude Barber. And with us here is Monsignor Tom McSweeney. He is the postulator for the cause of Gertrude Barber. And then with us as well is Maureen Barber-Carey, Executive Vice President with the Barber National Institute. And we have Diana Zenowitz, who is a parent. And she'll be able to share her story here. Welcome, folks, to this conversation here. Let's start with you, Monsignor Tom. Again, so great to see you, sir.
Oh, I got to let everybody know. Joel here has been one of my first students at Gannon University when we were getting the whole television and radio department started and so forth. And we kind of come full circle, and I'm sitting here now so proud of what you do. This is such a great vehicle to share information about the good things that are happening in Erie. And we are very, very, very grateful for the invitation to be here today.
Well, again, you were the spark to bring that creativity and excellence, I might say, Father Tom. All right, but let's cut to the chase here, because this is really important what we're talking about. Last month, the United States Catholic Conference of Bishops gave approval for the cause of statehood of Gertrude Barber. And so maybe you can give us an idea about how this works and really the national attention that's coming to this cause, right?
Indeed. Basically, we believe that Gertrude Barber is a saint already. She is with God, and we hope and believe that she's directing our good efforts to have her canonized. As Bishop Persico says, the Catholic Church doesn't really think in terms of months or years, but centuries.
Okay.
So
sure.
It is a complicated process, which only underscores the seriousness of it. What we are doing now is the Church is catching up with where she already is as a saint. And we started this process back in 2019. COVID came in and kind of interrupted our checklist as we were moving through the requirements. But last month was groundbreaking for us. We were getting green lights now from the Catholic Church in the United States. You mentioned the Catholic Conference of Bishops. They meet annually down in Maryland, and they vote on a whole host of things, but they invited us to make a presentation, which is one of the requirements, to get a sense of collegiality among all the bishops, 218 bishops, to give us the go-ahead for the diocesan phase and what we've been doing and gathering information and so forth. And it was overwhelming.
Wow. Do they get a lot of these requests?
They get some, but I wouldn't say a lot.
Okay, so when something bubbles up like this,
yes,
it's a big deal.
It certainly is. And a group of people who knew Gertrude Barber and the work that she has done here in Erie and now nationally,
Sure.
of course, these folks came up with the idea of sainthood to further the cause, her mission. She believed that these young kids were, like all of us, children of God. And there was a period of time in the 30s and in the 40s when kids who had intellectual difficulties or behavioral issues were shunted off to institutions. And she was working in the school district, and she had the unfortunate task of saying to parents, "Gee, I'm sorry, but your little daughter Sheila or our school system can't handle this. They'll have to go to an institution." And it was usually not in Erie, so they were actually having to be moved out of town. Warehouse is a difficult word,
Right.
but it was as if they were being warehoused. And she said, no. There's got to be a better way. This is a child of God. This child has potential. And so she got to it, and she inspired a lot of people. And among them, most recently then in 2019, a group came to Bishop Persico and asked that we enter into the process to make her a saint. And he officially opened the cause then in December 2019. But as I was saying just this recently, all the work that we had done, all the historical work, the theological work, all the indications that she lived a virtuous life were there.
Yeah.
And we put it into a thing called a libellus, that's a petition, gave it to Bishop Persico, and he opened the cause in 2019. And we've done all the research necessary to the point now where we had to have the American bishops give their approval for our work. And that's where we are right now. We got a big green light.
Wow.
We have just a couple of other things to do, some interrogatories.
Okay.
And you'll be hearing from our good friend Diane down there, who will be one of those people that would have.
But the research is almost like a legal briefing, and
It is.
Yeah,
It
I
is.
mean-
We call it canon law.
Yeah.
There's church law.
Sure.
It did used to take centuries. John Paul II, the Pope, said this is too much.
Yeah.
And he cut out a lot of the unnecessary time that was being spent doing a variety of things that could be covered in a more efficient way. And so the process is sped up to the point now.
How soon are we able to designate her as, quote, blessed, or the beatification of Dr. Barber?
She already has been now.
She has?
She's been acknowledged as a servant of God.
Okay.
The next stage is after we send all of our research and everything to the Vatican, we're doing the diocesan phase. That'll be finished, I believe, in, at the most, two years.
Okay,
Joel.
so 2 more years, yeah.
And that all goes to the Vatican, and then she would be termed venerable.
Okay.
The venerable Gertrude Barber. And then we move into the phase where we look for miracles.
Okay.
People that would have been praying to her for her intercession. And that we can talk about maybe a little bit later about the process of the miracle. Then we get into beatification and sainthood.
I want to move forward to learn more about who Gertrude Barber was, from Maureen Barber Carey, the Executive Vice President of the Barber National Institute. She was your aunt, right?
Yes, she was my aunt.
Yeah.
To tell you a little bit more about Gertrude, she was born in 1911. Her mom was an Irish immigrant. Her dad was a first-generation American citizen from Ireland. And so she was born here in Erie, Pennsylvania, Newman Street, 405 Newman Street. And unfortunately, because of the Spanish flu, her father passed away when she was very, very young.
Wow.
In I believe, 2018. So there was Grandma Barber with these 9 children, and she had them all to herself. Well, she strongly believed in a Catholic education, and so she sent Gertrude to St. Anne's for her schooling. Well, the nuns at St. Anne's were so impressed with Gertrude's knowledge, her inquisitiveness, her really, truly her genius, that they said, she doesn't belong at St. Anne's. She needs to go to Villa Maria.
Wow.
And Villa Maria was a boarding school for elementary age students. Well, the Barbers lived on Newman Street, and they, of course, had no transportation to get her to the Villa Maria. So the sisters arranged for her to get transportation to get to Villa Maria, and so then she completed her elementary school and then high school at Villa Maria.
Did she always want to be a teacher?
She always did want to be a teacher, but as she went to Edinburgh,
Okay.
which was, I think, to find then the normal school.
The normal
teaching
school, sure. Yeah.
She completed her education there, so she was ready to go aboard and be a teacher. But in the back of her head, she always wanted to be a missionary.
Wow.
And so she had talked to the superintendent of the Erie schools and said, you know, doctor, I really would like to be a missionary. I want to go abroad and help others, those people who are in such great need. And he said to her, well, Gertrude, you really can do that right here in Erie, Pennsylvania. We have children who, as Monsignor was telling us, who go off to an institution because they cannot be educated. She said, you could start working with them. So she did, and she was over one of the local public schools, and she began a group of children who at that time were eligible because they were learning disabled.
Okay.
They were not intellectually disabled. She was their teacher, and as she worked more and more with the children, and she continued her own education, became a psychologist, she moved up in the school district and became a home and school visitor and then a school psychologist. And in that role, as Monsignor said, it was her responsibility to say there are laws against children with disabilities coming to school.
Wow.
So you have no course. You can keep your child at home, no education, or you can send your child to an institution. Many, many parents did not want to do that, but they had no other option. So she continued to talk to families, and it was just around 1950 that she said, I think we could start our own school. So in 1952, in borrowed space, she started her first class. And it was children with intellectual disabilities, but many of those children also had other disabilities that precluded them from going to school. So that was 52. In a few years, parents of adults heard what she was doing with the children, and they said, I want something for my adult. And so she began an adult program. So the program moved from site to site based upon who would give her free space at that time until about 1966, when there was the Lakeview Hospital, which was on East Avenue, and it was called the Pest Hospital.
Right.
Well, when polio was eradicated, there was no need for that hospital. So the Erie County City Council and County Council were deciding, what should we do with this building? And Gertrude went to them and said, I would like that for my program. Well, they sent out an RFP, request for proposals, and a number of groups, nonprofits in town, submitted proposals and said to her, why don't you join with us? You don't need all that space for your people. And she said, well, I don't need that space now, but I will in the future. And so the city council voted to give her, at $1 a year, this space that could become the beginning of our school. So from there, of course, we expanded over the years, and today we're across the state of Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. We have over 93 group homes across the state, adult day services. Our school in Erie is a National School of Excellence. There's only a few of us in the entire country. So we have people come to Erie, Pennsylvania to have their child, their adult, receive services. And we do training as well. You know, we have had people from across the world, truly, come to Erie, Pennsylvania to learn about the Barber way of working with children and adults with disabilities.
But the person of Gertrude Barber really was a trendsetter and a, this kind of greater than life figure in this realm of intellectual disabilities, wasn't she?
Oh, she was. I mean, she served on President Kennedy's National Committee on Mental Retardation. So
wow.
she was a leader. She probably was one of the top 5 leaders in the country in terms of working with people with disabilities.
And that goes right to this narrative of she is a saint, right?
Yeah. And to carry out, she also believed everyone is a child of God, whether you had a disability or not. And these persons, these kids, these adults were her children. And she wanted them to have the very best that they can possibly be, so they could be the very best. And that's why she began, and that's what we continue to do today.
Amazing. Again, so many thousands of children, adults, and families have been touched by the mission of Gertrude Barber. One parent, Diana Zenowitz, is here to talk about the hopes and opportunities she found for her daughter, Missy. Bring that mic close to you, Diana. Tell us about your daughter, how you came to meet Dr. Barber.
My husband and I, Ed, are the proud parents of Missy. She's 53 years old last week.
Wow.
When she was about 6 months old, we found out that she was microcephalic and cerebral palsy, which meant her brain didn't grow. So obviously we were devastated and looking for something. The people we knew who had disabilities were not living at home anymore. They were in institutions. So I was a nurse at Hammett, and someone directed me to Dr. Barber. And so I called the Barber Center, and I had a meeting with Dr. Barber, my husband and I. She was the first person to give us hope. I mean, really. And the thing she really dwelled on was the abilities, not the disabilities. Yeah. I mean, her main focus was hope, love, and education. And so our daughter started in the infant toddler program. It was the first of its kind. I think there might have been 12 children and with our parents. We were in a little house on the corner. It was a yellow house. Our parent group painted it, and it was people there were quite a while. Our daughter went on to the school at the Barber Center. She had physical therapy after her surgeries to help her walk. She was nonverbal, so she had speech therapy.
Okay.
Given her a talker, communication board, so she could get her point across, which she did very well. They worked on her behaviors. Dr. Barber had really stressed that you have to look to the future. And she talked about, possibly group home placement. When kids are 18, they typically leave the home. They go to college or somewhere. So when she was 16, we had the opportunity for group home placement. And she has been in a group home ever since, and it has been really a lifesaver for our family. We can still be a family. She comes home twice a week or whenever we want her to. Mm-hmm. We utilized service of respite before she went in the group home, so we could, get away as a family, part of a family.
Sure.
When she graduated from school, when she was 21, she started in the workshop across the street at the Barber Center. She worked some for a while. That was really not her thing. But so she's attended the day program ever since. She goes Monday through Friday. They have arts, crafts. Her group home, they go on trips. They go out to dinner. They go to another group home every Sunday for dinner. She has friends. It's really just been really a lifesaver. The staff are our family, and it's really great. I think the thing that we really wanted to take away is that I know most people that go on to be a saint have like medical miracles. Well, Dr. Barber's really touched thousands of people and families. All the students knew her. She came to all our parent meetings. Everybody knew her, and she really was just the hope that everybody had.
That healing touch.
Yes.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Diana. Monsignor McSweeney, just to wrap up here, if somebody wants to get involved in supporting this effort towards sainthood for Dr. Gertrude Barber, how would they become involved?
The first thing is to pray. We all have different ways of praying and having a conversation with the good Lord and asking for the strength to do as families have done. We would like anybody that's listening to this broadcast to pray for the sainthood cause of Gertrude Barber and pray for her intercession. You can learn so much more about that aspect from the website, which is DR for Dr. DR Barber, all one word, Dr. Barber, DRBARBER.org. And if you have a group or just yourself want to know more about and certainly interested in learning about the sainthood cause, you can also schedule an appointment or get in touch with me personally through the Gertrude Barber Center. we are so convinced of her intercessory power that we would be thrilled to hear from anyone who, through praying to her, she is a saint, she is with God, and she, we don't understand. The eye has not seen nor the ear heard what God has got planned for us.
Faith is involved with all of this, right?
Oh, well, absolutely. She was a woman of great faith, and as has been pointed out here, she imparted people with hope, with that changed their lives, and in fact, they've experienced a miracle of a particular sort. The miracle that we would be looking for in the last phase of the preparation for beatification would be a medical miracle, whereas where somebody without any kind of medical explanation is cured of some malady. And I would say to pray and to please just get in touch with us. We would love to come to churches or to groups and make presentations to be a part of this movement, this great movement for the cause of the sainthood of Gertrude Barber.
Wonderful. Again, Monsignor Tom McSweeney, Maureen Barber Carey, and Diana Zenowitz, thank you so much. Another celebrating what's different, conversations with the Barber National Institute. God bless and Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to you.